Today, we're bringing 12 terrifying Bigfoot encounters back to life, chilling stories that shocked America. Number 1. Ape Canyon Attack. In the summer of 1924, a group of 5 miners claimed to have experienced one of the most famous Bigfoot encounters in American history. They were prospecting near Mount St. Helens, in a gorge that would later be called Ape Canyon. The men reported seeing giant ape-like figures watching them from the tree line. One of the miners, Fred Beck, even claimed he fired his rifle at one of the creatures, possibly wounding it. That shot, he later said, brought on a terrifying night they would never forget. According to the miners' account, their small wooden cabin was besieged after dark. The men huddled inside as large rocks slammed against the roof and walls. At one point, they claimed, a long, hairy arm reached through a gap in the logs, only to be beaten back by frantic gunfire. For hours, the group believed they were under attack by several enormous creatures. Somehow, the cabin withstood the assault, though the miners were shaken to their core by sunrise. When they finally emerged, the canyon was littered with large stones that had not been there before. No bodies or footprints were found, but the story quickly spread. Newspapers reported the miners' tale, dubbing the place Ape Canyon. While skeptics suggested it may have been a prank or exaggeration, the miners held to their story, insisting the creatures were real. The Ape Canyon attack became one of the earliest widely reported Bigfoot encounters in the United States. Whether the miners faced pranksters, wildlife, or something stranger, their story left such an impression that the canyon still carries the name today, reminding visitors of a night when the wilderness itself seemed alive with giants. Number 2. The Whitehall Encounter. In the quiet town of Whitehall, New York, a string of sightings in the late summer of 1976 turned the community into one of the most famous Bigfoot hotspots on the East Coast. The most dramatic event took place on a bare road, where a police officer named Brian Gosselin reported coming face to face with something he could not explain. Driving at night, Officer Gosselin claimed his headlights fell on a massive, hair-covered creature standing upright just 30 feet away. He described it as nearly 8 feet tall, with broad shoulders and long, swinging arms. What disturbed him most, however, were its glowing red eyes, which he said reflected back like the size of mayonnaise jar lids. The encounter left him shaken, but he was not alone in his story. Other law enforcement officers and townspeople reported hearing chilling screams in the nearby woods during the same period. A group of off-duty police also claimed to see a similar figure on a bare road, lending credibility to the reports. Local newspapers covered the sightings, and for weeks, Whitehall buzzed with excitement and fear. While no physical evidence was ever recovered, the Whitehall encounter stands out because of the number of trained observers who took it seriously. The state even considered conducting an official investigation. Today, Whitehall embraces its place in Bigfoot history, with a bare road remembered as the site where the unknown seemed to step into the glow of a patrol car's headlights. Number 3. Momo the Missouri Monster. The summer of 1972 brought fear and excitement to the quiet river town of Louisiana, Missouri. On a July afternoon, the Harrison children were playing near their home on Marzolf Hill. when they spotted something horrifying. Standing among the trees was a creature over 7 feet tall, covered in long, dark hair, and, most disturbingly, holding what looked like the body of a dog. The children ran screaming into the house, and their story quickly spread through the community. Locals gave the creature a nickname, Momo, short for the Missouri Monster. Within days, frightened residents reported strange howls at night, foul odors drifting from the woods, and enormous footprints pressed into the soil. Tension grew so high that armed search parties of townspeople scoured the hills, determined to protect their homes. Despite the frantic search, nothing was captured. Some believed the creature might have been a bear or another animal, while others insisted it was something no one could explain. Newspapers covered the story widely, and soon the legend of Momo spread beyond Missouri, adding to the growing list of mysterious Bigfoot encounters in America. Though the sightings eventually faded, Momo became a permanent part of local folklore. Even today, festivals and documentaries recall the time when the town of Louisiana was convinced a monster stalked its hills. Whether real or imagined, the Momo scare of 1972 remains one of the most dramatic moments in Bigfoot history, showing how a single summer of fear can turn into a legend that lasts for generations. Number 4. The Fouke Monster. In May 1971, the quiet town of Fouke, Arkansas, was thrown into the spotlight when a local man, Bobby Ford, claimed he was attacked outside his home by a towering, hairy creature. Ford described the figure as standing about 7 feet tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in dark hair. With glowing red eyes and a foul smell, the beast terrified him so much that he crashed through a door in his attempt to escape. He was later treated for shock and minor injuries at a nearby hospital. Neighbors reported seeing the same creature stalking through the woods around Fouke, and large 3-toed tracks were discovered near Ford's property. Investigators could not identify the prints, and the case drew attention from newspapers across Arkansas. Residents began to speak openly of earlier encounters, suggesting that something had been lurking in the bottomlands for years before the famous attack. The legend quickly spread beyond Arkansas when the Associated Press picked up the story, and filmmakers turned it into the 1972 docudrama, The Legend of Boggy Creek. The film dramatized the events, cementing the creature's reputation as the Fouke Monster. Suddenly, a small southern town was on the map for one of the strangest cryptid legends in America. Though skeptics argued that the reports could have been exaggerated or mistaken identity with a bear, the Fouke Monster remains part of Arkansas folklore. To this day, locals still share stories of strange howls, eerie tracks, and fleeting glimpses in the swampy woods, keeping alive one of the most famous Bigfoot legends of the South. Number 5. Giant footprints. The word Bigfoot itself first entered popular use in 1958, when a construction crew working near Bluff Creek, California, discovered enormous human-like footprints around their site. Jerry Crew, a bulldozer operator, took plaster casts of the prints and shared them with a local newspaper. The Humboldt Times published the photos under the headline, "Giant Footprints Puzzle Residents," and the name Bigfoot was born. The prints measured more than 16 inches long, with deep impressions suggesting great weight. Workers at the site reported hearing strange noises in the forest at night, and tools were mysteriously moved or broken. While no creature was ever seen, the discovery captured the imagination of the public and launched Bigfoot into modern folklore. The story spread nationwide, inspiring researchers, skeptics, and believers to investigate the Pacific Northwest as a possible home of a giant primate. Though later claims suggested the tracks were a prank by a man named Ray Wallace, the sensation was already too large to contain. By then, Bigfoot had become a household name across America. Today, the 1958 Bluff Creek prints are remembered less for whether they were real or fake, and more for sparking the modern fascination with Bigfoot. They transformed scattered tales into a cultural phenomenon, turning the unknown creature of the woods into a lasting American legend. Number 6. Big Muddy Monster. In the summer of 1973, the town of Murfreesboro, Illinois, was shaken by a wave of sightings of a mysterious creature later dubbed the Big Muddy Monster. The first report came from a young couple parked near the Big Muddy River late at night. They described a huge, white-haired beast with muddy fur that emerged from the darkness and let out a terrifying roar. Within days, police received several more calls from residents who claimed to see the same creature wandering near homes and wooded areas. Officers investigating the reports found large footprints and a powerful odor in the places it had been spotted. The creature was said to stand between 7 and 8 feet tall, moving with surprising speed despite its size. For 2 weeks, the town buzzed with fear and excitement. Locals avoided the riverbank at night, while curious onlookers flocked to the area hoping for a glimpse. Newspapers picked up the story, dubbing the mysterious intruder the Big Muddy Monster. Law enforcement took the report seriously, with police records documenting the events of that strange summer. Although the sightings stopped as suddenly as they began, the Big Muddy Monster became one of Illinois' most enduring legends. Some believe it was a bear or a prank, while others insist it was a true Midwestern Sasquatch. Nearly 50 years later, Murfreesboro still celebrates the story, reminding people of the nights when something strange prowled the Big Muddy River. Number 7. Patterson Gimlin film. On October 20th, 1967, 2 men named Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin set out on horseback into the forests near Bluff Creek, California. Patterson carried a 16-millimeter camera, hoping to find evidence of Bigfoot, and by chance, he claimed to capture what became the most famous footage of the creature in history. The film shows a large, upright, hair-covered figure striding across a sandbar, briefly turning its head toward the camera before vanishing into the trees. The creature in the footage, often nicknamed Patty, was estimated by Patterson and Gimlin to be about 7 feet tall, with long arms and a heavy, muscular build. Its steady gait and calm glance toward the camera gave the film an eerie realism that gripped the public's imagination. Almost immediately, scientists and skeptics began to debate whether the figure was a person in a costume or something truly unknown. Over the decades, experts in anatomy, film, and costume design have studied the Patterson Gimlin film in detail. Some point to the creature's proportions and fluid movements as evidence it could not have been a hoax, while others argue it was likely a man in a suit. Patterson himself never wavered in his claim that the film showed a real Bigfoot, and Gimlin who is still alive, maintains the same position today. Regardless of its true nature, the film became the single most iconic piece of Bigfoot evidence. It has been featured in countless documentaries, books, and debates, keeping Bluff Creek at the heart of Bigfoot lore. Number 8. Manurva Monster. In August 1978, the Caton family of Manurva, Ohio, reported repeated encounters with a huge, hairy figure near their home. One evening, while family members and friends gathered in the kitchen, they saw a tall, broad creature with glowing eyes standing near an old rock pile in their yard. It appeared to be covered in dark, matted hair and showed no fear as it watched them from just outside the window. The terrified family called the sheriff, who arrived with deputies to investigate. They found strange footprints, a lingering foul odor, and signs of movement in the surrounding woods. Over the following weeks, the Catons and others in the area claimed to hear chilling screams at night, see the creature lurking near the tree line, and notice their dogs barking furiously as if sensing danger. The Manurva case drew considerable attention, with local newspapers covering the story and researchers traveling to interview the family. Unlike many sightings, this one involved multiple witnesses across several nights, which made it harder to dismiss outright. The Caton family remained consistent in their accounts, describing a creature nearly 7 feet tall that seemed both curious and unafraid of humans. Though no physical proof was ever collected, the Manurva monster became one of Ohio's best-known Bigfoot encounters. The story is still remembered today, celebrated in documentaries and even local festivals, ensuring that the strange events of 1978 remain an important part of American Bigfoot history. Number 9. Paul Freeman footage. Paul Freeman, a U.S. Forest Service patrolman turned Bigfoot researcher, became a central figure in the cryptid's history after a series of encounters in the Blue Mountains near the Washington-Oregon border. In 1982, he discovered large footprints in the forest, complete with ridge-like details that some experts thought too complex to be faked, but it was his later video, captured in 1994, that cemented his place in Bigfoot lore. In the 1994 footage, Freeman recorded what he described as a massive, hair-covered creature walking steadily through the woods. The figure seemed to be about 7 feet tall, its arms swinging naturally as it moved. Freeman also claimed he saw additional figures, including a smaller one he believed might be a juvenile, though only one was clearly captured on tape. Skeptics argued that the video was grainy and inconclusive, but many researchers considered it one of the most compelling pieces of Bigfoot evidence since the Patterson Gimlin film. Supporters pointed to the creature's natural movements and proportions as difficult to reproduce in a costume. Freeman himself maintained until his death that what he saw and filmed was genuine. Today, the Freeman footage remains one of the most studied Bigfoot videos in existence. While it has not provided definitive proof, it continues to inspire debate among believers and skeptics alike. Alongside Patterson and Gimlin, Paul Freeman's name is now tied to one of the most intriguing chapters in America's ongoing search for the legendary creature. Number 10. Skunk ape photos. In late 2000, a woman from Sarasota County, Florida, mailed 2 startling photographs to the local sheriff's office. She claimed the images showed a strange, ape-like creature lurking near her backyard, where it had been raiding fruit trees at night. The creature had long arms, dark reddish-brown hair, and glowing eyes that reflected in the camera's flash. Locals quickly connected the mystery visitor to Florida's long-standing legend of the skunk ape. The name comes from the foul odor often reported alongside sightings, a stench compared to rotting garbage or a skunk. The creature is said to stand between 6 and 8 feet tall, with shaggy fur and a hunched posture, often seen in swampy areas of the Everglades. Though stories of the skunk ape stretch back centuries, the Miyaka photos became the most famous modern evidence of its existence. The woman who took the pictures said she feared for her grandchildren's safety, describing the creature as watching her home with curiosity. Wildlife experts who reviewed the photos were divided. Some dismissed them as a misidentified animal, while others noted the proportions did not match any known Florida wildlife. Today, the Miyaka photographs remain central to Florida folklore. Whether they captured a real unknown creature or a trick of light and shadow, they keep alive the state's claim to one of America's most unique Bigfoot legends. Visitors still come to the Everglades, hoping to glimpse the mysterious giant said to haunt the swamps. Number 11. The Bowman Incident. One of the earliest written Bigfoot tales comes from the 1890s, when a trapper named Bowman told his story to none other than Theodore Roosevelt. In Roosevelt's 1893 book, The Wilderness Hunter, he recorded Bowman's terrifying account of a creature that stalked him and his trapping partner in the Montana wilderness. Bowman said the 2 men noticed strange tracks around their campsite, with footprints too large for a man. At night, they heard heavy footsteps circling their camp and the cracking of branches in the forest. Though they never saw the creature clearly, they felt watched and harassed each time they set their traps. The presence grew bolder with each passing night. One evening, Bowman returned from checking traps to find the campsite destroyed. His partner was dead, his body bearing signs of a violent attack. Bowman fled the mountains in terror, later recounting the story to Roosevelt. Though the president never claimed the story as proof of Bigfoot, he preserved it as an example of unexplained frontier mysteries. The Bowman incident remains one of the most chilling Bigfoot accounts, partly because it predates the modern legend by decades. Whether the attacker was truly a wild creature or a more earthly predator, Bowman's tale continues to echo through history, linking Bigfoot with the dark unknowns of America's untamed wilderness. Number 12. Mount Rainier Encounter. In 1924, near Mount Rainier, a prospector named Albert Ostman claimed he had an encounter unlike any other Bigfoot story. According to his account, while camping in the wilderness, he was taken in his sleeping bag by a group of large, hairy humanoids and carried to their remote mountain shelter. Ostman said the creatures did not harm him, but seemed curious, watching him closely as if studying his behavior. He described a family of 4 creatures, 2 large adults and 2 younger ones. The male stood about 8 feet tall and weighed hundreds of pounds, while the female appeared slightly smaller. They fed on roots and nuts, communicating with each other in low, strange sounds. Ostman remained with them for nearly a week, unsure if he was a guest or a prisoner. Eventually, Ostman escaped by tricking the creatures with a pouch of snuff tobacco, which distracted the giant male long enough for him to flee. He kept the story private for decades, fearing ridicule, until he finally told it publicly in 1957. Skeptics doubted his account, but some researchers noted the detail and consistency in his description. While the Mount Rainier story cannot be proven, it has become one of the most unusual and famous Bigfoot tales. Unlike fleeting sightings, Ostman's account suggested that the creatures lived in family groups and had complex behavior. To this day, his story fuels debates about whether Bigfoot could truly be a hidden species surviving in the wilderness. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.